What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I'm your host, Reckless Rexx Ruger, your bastard of ceremonies. That, if you couldn't tell by the enormous chompers, is, of course, the Freddie Mercury puppet. We're back. This, of course, is where the cool kids come to chop it up with your boy, Reckless Rexx Ruger, a.k.a. Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. And before my guest gets in here, let me give myself a look and admire the view. And what a view it is, folks. And of course, before he gets in here, let me let you know that I make this possible right here, folks. Although it would probably be possible without this because I've got the great rock star genetics. And you can get yourself some of this too if you want to up your game. And of course, the caveat is you won't look this good. Get that out of your mind. That is impossible. And of course, I also edit nothing. So you are seeing me in contact with my guest. I'm 51 years old. Can't be bothered with editing. I will not do it. I won't succumb to the pressures of making my podcast so polished that it doesn't maintain its rawness, its integrity, if you will. That being said, while we're waiting for my guest, let me get the obligatory promotional stuff out of the way. Make sure to like and follow Pod Scum on Facebook. That is where you'll get the news as to when new episodes are coming out and who's going to be on those episodes, besides yours truly. Also, if you're watching this podcast right now, you've come to the right place. You have arrived. So make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to stay tapped in. This is where the great conversations happen, of course. And they happen with, as I said earlier, Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. right here, folks, a.k.a. the son of glam, the front man for the band, adored by millions of fans, the peanut butter to your jam, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, Mr. Wop Bop, a Loo Bop, a Wop, bam, bam, shazam, hot damn. Woo, I'm feeling good. Let me give the hair a flip. And let me also, while we're waiting for my guest to get in here, let me also remind you guys that the channel not only boasts the amazing Pod Scum podcast, but also, if you're a fan of pugilism, hop on over and check out Off the Couch Boxing. There are 160 episodes. It's a virtual treasure trove over there of great boxing content. Some of the greatest fighters, ex-fighters, current fighters, anybody involved with the knuckle game. So if that's your cup of tea, man, go on over there, man. Co-hosted by yours truly, as well as my almost as talented son, Frankie the Flamethrower. It is worth checking out, especially if you're a fan, as I said, of people getting punched in the face. And come on, we're guys. Who's not? So I defy you as a red-blooded American male, if you have a pulse and a heartbeat and any sense of testosterone in your system, to not say that you don't enjoy watching other people get pummeled in the face. Hell, Pantera turned it into a great album cover, Vulgar Display of Power. We love people getting punched in the face. Anyway, my guest is here. Let's get down to it and chop it up with him, man. That's what I'm into right now. So let's do it, man. Let's chop it up with my man. He's coming on right now. Can't wait. Mark, did we finally make it happen?
Sir,
we finally made it happen. I knew we would. I knew all along we would.
Hell yeah.
There you go. How's it going, man?
It's going real well, man. How about you?
Oh, great, man. Great. And so when I talked to you earlier today, you said you were going to be running through rehearsal. Who are you rehearsing with just now?
Right now, Year of the Dragon. We're just working out some Year of the Dragon stuff with the rhythm section.
Okay. That's what's up. And so the new single Lucifinger is out right now. As Flying J told me, new album coming out in 2025. Correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I'm more interested, even so much more so than the Year of the Dragon stuff. We'll get to that, man. But usually I like to backtrack and kind of start at the beginning, man. You also play in MANDRILL, legendary funk band.
Yeah.
How did you get into music, man? What planted the seed for you? Was there a specific album or an artist or a song that you heard that kind of really lit the fire for you?
Yeah, I mean, my dad played some guitar and stuff, so I kind of was really exposed to it pretty early, and my uncle played the bass. My uncle was more like on the professional circuit in Toronto, Montreal, and eventually in New York a little bit. My dad kind of just played casually, but music was always real dominant in our home. And then I had an older brother who was like really into rock, like classic rock, Led
Yeah.
Zeppelin and Sabbath and Hendrix and all this kind of stuff. So he kind of turned me on to that. And I played a little bit of instruments like in grade school. I played saxophone and
Yeah.
tuba, like in middle school. And I think when I was around 12, I picked up a guitar, and that's what I really stuck with over the years. So that's kind of what got me going.
And is there anybody out there that you feel like has had the most influence on you as a guitar player?
Oh man, there's so many, probably too many to name, but
Who's a big one that comes to mind right away?
Quick one is Jimmy Hazel from
Yeah.
24/7 Spies.
Yeah.
He's always been like a big brother in the middle, because I learned everything I could from Omar. Finn Hammer from Weapon of Choice, kind of the same situation. When I jumped in that band, I really dug into what he was doing. So those are some of the really direct influences.
And you know, I know this from having a mother who's a school teacher. Teaching requires a lot of patience. It's not necessarily for everybody. But you have been teaching for quite some time at the music school that was started by Flea, correct?
That's right. Yep. The Silver Lake Conservatory of Music.
And now, when did you get the teaching bug? You know, and do you enjoy it?
I do enjoy it. That one came also kind of by way of Mandrill, being in Mandrill. Keith Berry, who is a childhood friend of Flea's, was playing in Mandrill also. He played saxophone, harmonica, a little bit of flute, and he joined the band. I had already been with them for a short time, and he joined the band right around the time when they were getting ready to open the school. So, you know, we were playing together in rehearsal and stuff, and he asked me if I would be interested in teaching. And I said, I didn't really know that I was suited for it yet or ready or whatever. And he knew better than I did that it would be a good thing for me. So I started there in like 2001. As soon as they opened, I've been there ever since.
And now you started at Mandrill in 1999?
That's right. Yeah.
25 years with these guys, huh? Crazy.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a great trip, a great experience. And I learned so much from those guys about everything, but music and rehearsals. Like, it's pretty much the epitome of what it could be for me. I love that band, that style of music with all those instruments, the horns, the big vocals. You know, it's hard to make a band like that nowadays, especially.
Yeah, it is.
You know, but yeah, I love that band. Learned so much from them.
And now, you know, because they're a band that started in like the late '60s and they have such a rich, storied history. When you went to the band in 1999, how do you get in? Because they've had such an amazing lineup, as you said, of talented guys, cream of the crop musicians. You know, do you try out for a band like that?
I did wind up kind of doing an audition for them, sort of. It's Neftali Santiago, the drummer from Mandrill. He's actually the second drummer in the band, but he's on most of their real seminal recordings, Composite Truth and Just Outside Town and stuff like that. And somehow he and I connected via email, internet, just corresponding. And they were playing a show in Philadelphia, and I was living in Baltimore at the time. So I drove out to the show in Philly and saw the band. This must have been 98. And we just really connected during that time. And he was like, there might be an opportunity for you to play in the band at some point. So let's just stay connected. And we did that. They continued with their dates that they were doing. And then he called me later that year and said, you know, there's an opportunity for you if you can come out. Omar Mesa, the original guitar player, was signed up to do this tour that they were doing. But he was living on the East Coast and the band was out here in California. So he couldn't do the rehearsals and stuff. And Neftali was like, just come out, meet the guys. Maybe you can rehearse with us before we go on this run to Europe. And that's pretty much how it went. I sat in and did the rehearsals. Then I was kind of like a utility guy on tour, helping with sound and helping out set up gear and stuff like that. And we went to Europe and did a run like that. And it was really the original band for the most part, as much as who was able to participate. So I got to see the cats who I loved with Omar on guitar. It was awesome. And then toward the end of that run, Omar's wife had come along with him, and there was a show, like they picked up a last minute show, and Omar happened to be still behind. I think it was in Amsterdam where they had played the night before. We went to Germany and we're supposed to be a day off, but they picked up a random show and there wasn't really enough time to get Omar to the gig. So they were like, Mark, are you ready? I was like, oh,
There's your
shit,
moment.
okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wound up doing that show. And after, when that tour was over, then they asked me if I would be able to stay on and play guitar full time in the band.
See that, musicians? Got to stay fucking ready. You never know when your moment will come, man, right?
Man, so true. So true.
You never know, man. And so, and so obviously, you know, playing with Dirty Walt and the guys in Year of the Dragon, that probably scratches a different itch for you, so to speak, right? You're playing kind of two different styles, a vast departure from what you do in Mandrill.
Yeah, it's a whole different ball game for sure. Although Mandrill, you know, they definitely can throw down some hard stuff as well.
Yeah. No
but
doubt.
yeah, it's a whole different kind of era and different mindset. Yeah.
And so, how do you get indoctrinated and get in with that camp?
Man, how did that really go down? I think around 2012 or so, I was one of the teachers at the conservatory is Kareem Imes, the drummer for Year of the Dragon.
Yep.
And he hit me up one day and they were going through some personnel changes and kind of same thing. He asked me if I'd be down to come down and try out for the band. I had seen them play fairly recently prior to that time. I seen the band and I really loved what they were doing. And Kareem and I have been friends for a long time. And actually, Walt and I had been acquainted at that point for a long time as well, because his son, Walty, took lessons at the school. He was a student of Kareem's.
Okay.
And so Walt would come around to the recitals and stuff to check his son out. And we become acquainted that way. And always, I had kind of been in the camp because I started playing with the band Weapon of Choice, which is Lonnie Marshall's band. Part of the same Fishbone familyhood. So we have been doing shows and stuff. I think I started playing with Weapon Choice around 2003. So I knew all the Fishbone guys. We had played together. And at that time, Year of the Dragon had a guitar player named JMR, a super bad, excellent guitar player who's in Florida now. But he had stepped away from the band, and that's how I came into that scene.
And do you feel like because you're playing in two different bands and you're teaching, do you feel like as a guitar player, you're still learning and growing? I mean, obviously, like you're spending a lot of time with a guitar in your hand between teaching other kids and playing in two different bands at such a high level. Do you feel like you learn new things about the instrument all the time?
Every single day I pick it up. Something new is there to be discovered.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing that someone can play as much as you do and still, and you gotta be you gotta be consciously trying to find like new things, right? Because I mean, you're playing it so much.
I mean, yeah, it's endless with the music. I think it was Louis Armstrong who they asked him something about one time new challenges on the horns. He was like, man, every day I pick up that case and open it, and that thing is ready to just kick my ass. And there's no, you never reach the end. I think that's the beauty of it, or at least for me, I feel like there's always more to go.
And that's a good way to look at it, I think, because I think, I think maybe somebody that would be a little on the narcissistic side, could get to the point where they say, I've mastered this thing, Yeah,
no, I don't even feel like I'm scratching the surface. And I love playing a bunch of different instruments as well. So lately I've been playing a lot of drums and I play bass.
Okay.
Recently picked up a saxophone again just to kind of keep my brain thinking in different ways. Musically, it's a whole different approach. So it definitely opens up some avenues then when I go back to guitar.
And now for people that aren't musicians, I'm not a musician myself. You know, when you go from an instrument that that you're pretty proficient on, you know, as far as the guitar goes, and you segue over into other instruments, as a musician, is it an easy transition or is it very difficult? Like, let's say like you put down your guitar and you jump on a drum set.
Yeah. So I think like I've always been a bit of a frustrated drummer. Like when I was a
Yeah.
kid, I wanted a drum set in the house, and my parents were like, "Nah, no drums. Why don't you take the
No
guitar?"
parent ever wants a drum set in the house.
No doubt. So, but like always through the years at rehearsal or whatever, a drummer goes up for a drink or something, I hop behind the kit and I get on there
Yeah.
and try and play. And I've always really loved the drums. So in a sense, some of it comes easily, but like all the nuance of somebody who's been perfecting their craft for 30 years, 20 years or whatever, you know, I've got mountains to climb as far as that goes. But I can get on there and just have fun, put some records on, play along, and you know, get to a point. We demo a lot of our instrumental tracks on our own in Year of the Dragon. So my goal is to kind of get to a point where I'm, instead of pushing buttons on a drum machine or something like that, that I can just kind of track my own demos here.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
And then give them to the guys. So yeah, I don't love like working on a computer and pressing buttons to make music. I'd rather just hit the drums. Or
you like the organic way. Yeah.
I like the organic ways.
Yeah. And now I would consider Dirty Walt and the guys in Mandrill, you know, certainly larger than life guys and legends, you know, but you've been around them for a long time. But in your travels, has there been anybody outside of those guys that you've had the opportunity to meet that's really bowled you over, where you've been almost, you know, for lack of a better word, starstruck?
I mean, kind of all those guys, like we're talking about. When I first was really starting to play, and I would go see 24/7 Spies all the time when I was like barely old enough to get into venues or drive a car. And coming over time, like I eventually got to become friends with all those guys, but really especially Jimmy Hazel. When he was going through like a transition in the band and doing his solo trip, he invited me to his house. He was going to do a tour of Europe on his solo record and asked me if I'd be willing to play bass or rhythm guitar. It was kind of an either or situation. And I went over there and, you know, just from being a cat who like I really, really looked up to, he was so humble and like so opening, inviting me, slept at his house, ate with his family. So that kind of was like the epitome of, for me, showing me, okay, all these people are just people at the end of the day. And I've been blessed to meet a lot of the good ones who really don't have the ego. Not so much of like, you know, the baggage and stuff, like the real, true, humble giants. But he stands out. I played for a long time. I was a bass player with Ika Mouse, this reggae artist, Ika Mouse. For over 10 years. And we did many tours kind of all over the world. And so that was a whole nother scene with the international reggae community. And I got to meet people like Burning Spear, the Abyssinians, and some legends of that world too. And that was always amazing. Year of the Dragon, a couple of years ago, got to open up shows for the Bad Brains on their last kind of run through California. We got to do all those runs or all those shows with them. And that was, again, just kind of like a dream come true moment.
Yeah. Everybody that consistently comes on here, and I've been fortunate enough to have a lot of people on here from the punk hardcore world, man. Everybody puts the Bad Brains above everybody else, man. Like they're almost like untouchable on that, you know, on that level.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely all the way up at the tip top of it for me, with just the innovation. You you know, and the genre bending from so early on. Like I
Yeah.
know they started off as mainly like kind of a fusion, jazz fusion group. You know, a lot
Yeah.
of people aren't really aware of that, but they were playing jazz fusion and then started getting into the hardcore and always were messing with the reggae at the same time. So that's that's like me. I love all that different styles of music, and to
Yeah.
be able to play it so successfully like they did, um, you know, that's the shit to me.
And now, does Flea, because he's a part of this school, is Flea ever a presence at the school? Does he ever stop in? I know, obviously, he's a huge international, global superstar. Red Hot Chili Peppers. I think everybody knows who Flea is, man. If they're a music fan at all, I think Flea, certainly has a renowned reputation in the music world. How involved is he at the school? Does he ever make any appearances?
I mean, yes, beyond making appearances, the school has been like his baby, and he's been there hands on from day one. So
I can
he's
see
there
that.
all the time, giving his
Yeah.
time, sharing with the kids, like one of the most generous with his craft and everything that he's accomplished. Like he really lives for giving back, and playing whenever you can. Like he's a real musician's musician,
Yeah.
and he pours everything into that school. So he's super involved. Yeah, I mean, he couldn't be more involved, really. I
I'm
mean,
glad that I'm glad that people get a chance to hear that too, man. And that was why I kind of led you into that question, because I think people sometimes, probably say, "Oh, he's got his name attached to the school, but how involved is he? He's a huge rock star." But I got the feeling when I asked that question, even without having it here in my notes, that Flea would be one of those kind of cats that would be there and very hands-on.
he is super hands-on. He's the head of the board of directors. So basically, all the important decisions that happen for the school, he's directly involved. We recently did a project where we took some of the students into a recording studio. It was like their first time. We got an album that's getting ready to come out, and we picked 3 different artists to pay tribute to. Neil Young, the Pretenders, and the Chili Peppers are going to be featured on this one. And yeah, I mean, he's in the studio with the kids, like showing them, oh, this is how I played this, or
Yeah.
like just fully encouraging them and saying, kill the click track, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he's super involved and super passionate about the school, and it's grown so much, and it's amazing to see how many people are impacted by it. It's really been a blessing to me and so many people.
Now, obviously, touring right now, because the music industry has changed so much, not so many people are buying the physical product. Record sales aren't what they used to be. Bands are getting out there now and almost having to tour a lot and sell merchandise. Do you like that part of the business, like going out of the road? I know sometimes, you kind of live like a nomad out there. You're away from home. You're away from the things that are comfortable to you. You know what I mean? Do you like that part of the business?
It's a love-hate. I have a
Yeah.
love-hate relationship with all
Yeah.
that. I usually love it when I'm out there. If it goes on super long, then I start missing my routine. I'm like a real routine kind of guy
Yeah.
at home.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
But no, I love it. Like, especially Year of the Dragon, like we're all friends. It's easy when we go on the road. There's no drama. And we live for those shows when we get the opportunity to do it. Mandrill, same thing. So I think it's like if you're with a good unit and everybody gets along, then it can be great. If there's drama, then I try to avoid that at all costs at this stage in the game.
Yeah. Now, what's a comfortable amount of time, man? Like you said, if it's for a set amount of time, man, like for you personally, man, like what's a comfortable amount of time for you to be on the road that you like?
I'm
3
good with
weeks?
like, a month at a time, take a
Yeah.
break,
Yeah.
that feels good
Yeah.
to me. Yeah.
I hear that from a lot of musicians, that like, that 3 to 4 week period. And then you start to get a little like, okay, I'm over this now.
No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. Now, for you, I'm going to ask you, because you're primarily a guitar player, man. For you, and this is a subjective question, who's on the Mount Rushmore of all-time guitar players?
Man,
Who are the 4 that are up there? I gotta ask you a couple of my tough subjective questions here.
I appreciate it. Mine skews probably a little bit more toward older,
Sure.
older music. Like we talked about, I'm more like into organic
Yep.
stuff. So Eddie Hazel always is like, at the forefront for me. More so like the feeling, the note choices, and also Michael Hampton. So I'm a huge P-Funk aficionado.
Yep.
So those two guys, somebody who doesn't get mentioned a whole lot when it comes to these conversations is Kendall Ray Jones from Fishbone,
Okay.
original guitar player from Fishbone. I think because Fishbone itself is such a badass band that sometimes the individuals don't get their due credit for being as ridiculous as they are on
Right.
their
People. Right.
instruments.
People look at him as like a collective almost.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
collective.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
think individually, like Angelo's the best front man I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And plays the shit out of a million instruments.
Yep.
Fish is probably my favorite drummer of all time, one of the baddest drummers that I've ever come across and had the pleasure to work with a bunch of times. Fish is on my Mount Rushmore. And Kendall, the same thing. The stuff he was doing on guitar, innovating the way he was.
Yep.
You know, there's so many out there. I really love like Grant Green, Wes Montgomery, Eddie Van Halen for
Yep.
everything he was doing. There's a ton of them, and there's
Eddie
a
Van
lot.
Halen. Eddie Van Halen gets mentioned a lot, no matter what genre of artist comes on here, man.
He
Now,
should.
obviously, a lot of hard rock and metal guests, come on my podcast, though, man.
Yeah.
But Eddie Van Halen seems to speak to, irregardless of what the genre is, man. What was it specifically? Can you put a finger on it? Because obviously, we just lost Eddie in the last couple of years or whatever. What was it that made Eddie Van Halen so special, man? You could probably expound on this as a guitar player.
Well, I mean, you being the son of David Lee Roth, you got inside information to all this
That's
stuff.
true. That's true. Well, I have more inside information on what it means to be a great front man.
Okay, all right. I see.
Yeah. I gotta stay in my. I gotta stay in my lane, Mark. You know what I mean? I gotta stay. I gotta stay in my lane. I'm this guy. I'm the guy that just grabs the microphone stand and just goes out there and works the crowd into a frenzy. You know what I mean? It's all pizzazz.
Leg kicks,
leg kicks.
Air,
Right.
Shit.
I don't know, man. I'm 51 years old. If I try one of those leg kicks, I might have to call out of work for a couple of weeks. But those leg kicks,
Eddie, like you said, it goes across so many genres and boundaries. Like, no offense to the Sammy Hagar era, but it's not really my thing. But those early Van Halen records, again, in terms of like breaking norms and there were stylistic, like they have funky shit on there too, like Push Comes to Shove or things like that. So I think he speaks to so many people. One, because he was so fucking musical, just the musicality was off the charts. I don't think we've seen anything like it probably before or since. He's a unicorn.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever seen the videos of him like on YouTube where he's doing the animal cells.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know. Yeah. Absolutely crazy. Now, where do you stand on a guy, because you're talking about being a multi-instrumentalist, and I don't think a lot of guys can pick up a lot of different instruments and play them at a proficient level. As you said, there are guys that can dabble and can hold their own on an instrument, but they've usually got their main instrument, though. A guy that's a big thing from a big artist in my life, and again, I'm mostly a rock and metal guy myself, but growing up, man, a guy that means a lot to me is Prince. Where do you stand on your opinion of a guy like Prince?
Oh man, Prince.
I mean, in my mind, and I think I had a guest on here who said it best. The drummer for the Fun Loving Criminals actually said that he was the 20th century Mozart.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. For all the things that he did and being so proficient at so many different things, the guitar, the vocals, you see him sit at the piano and kill that.
Yeah.
You see him in the studio killing the bass. I know he was probably a monster behind his drum set too.
Yep.
So yeah, those people just blow my mind. And Stevie Wonder, obviously people, are familiar with all the keyboard stuff, but he played drums on most of those records.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bootsy Collins is another guy who like played drums on a lot more things than anybody's aware of.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I love those kind of people who do that stuff and do it so well. It's ridiculous. But Prince could hold his own, I think, with anybody, probably on any instrument. And
Yeah.
Carlos Wilson from Mandrill was like that too. Like he
Yeah.
wasn't a lead guitar player, but he could play rhythm guitar like nobody's business. Timbales, alto sax, flute. You put him behind a drum kit, he'll kill that. So yeah,
Yeah.
certain
Yeah.
guys, man, it's crazy.
And now for people that don't know, Mandrill was started by the Wilson brothers. Now they're all still with us outside of Lou, correct?
Yes, they're all still with us outside. Lou, Carlos, and Rick Wilson and Wolf Wilson, thankfully, are all still here with us.
And still rocking in their what? They got to be in their close to 80, 70s?
Yes. Yep. Late
Wow.
70s,
Wow.
pushing
Wow.
80. Yep.
You see that, man? That's the therapy and the healing power of music, though. It does keep people young. I had this conversation with a guest the other day because about my day job is as a nurse in a nursing home, and for activities when they have people come in there and play music, man, it makes people that otherwise wouldn't be moving or feeling too much. It brings something out of them.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. I was watching a program like on Alzheimer's, and there's this guy, older guy, barely knew which way was up. Like he needed help doing anything, going to the car, didn't know where he was at necessarily. And they showed him like get up with this old singing group that he used to sing with, and he sang every note impeccably.
Knew the word. Yeah.
Like just word for word, all the nuance, like an amazing performance. And then he goes off stage and it's like he barely knows what's what
Unbelievable.
Anymore.
Yeah.
So it's wild, the connection and the power of music in the brain.
Now, if I were to take MARC Rey, drop him on a desert island, what would be the desert island album if you could only take one with you?
Shit. I hate that question.
Nobody ever likes this fucking question, Mark. I'll tell you, nobody ever fucking likes it.
It's outside of the box, this one too, and it would probably be
but I
something
like that,
I always go back to. It's a meditation, but Augustus Pablo. I don't know if you know Augustus Pablo. He's a melodica player, like one of the OG Jamaican roots reggae instrumentalists, and he has an album called East of the River Nile, and that is an album.
And that is an album that you would say, hey, I'm on this desert island. I'm fucked, but I'm happy I got this album.
That's right.
Okay. So you'd feel good. You'd feel good living with this album, essentially dying with this album.
Nah, I would. That can wake me up and tuck me in at night. I'll feel all right.
Okay. Fair enough. And I got to ask, because you brought up, going into shows, at a young age and going into shows that you might not have even been old enough to get into. What was your favorite gig from a fan standpoint? Was there ever a time when you went to see a show that really stuck with you, where you were really just blown away?
Man, there's so many of them, but one that always comes to mind was the Beastie Boys with the Rollins Band opening up at this kind of venue in Glen Burnie, Maryland, that was way too small for those two acts. And what I remember about that show in particular,
what year are we talking?
Man, this must have been like 92, 91, 92.
Yeah. So at that point, the Beastie Boys are global stars at this point. Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, they're huge. I think it was like they were promoting Check Your Head, was the record that was out at the time. And they played this venue and it was oversold like a complete nightmare. I
bet.
And it was one of those things where the crowd just kind of turned into this amoeba of people, where once the Rollins Band started playing and really got going, like my feet never touched the floor from that moment on. It's like this massive crowd. I'm just floating. So thankfully there was no fire that evening. We made it out unscathed.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God.
the most dangerous concert I've ever been to, but like one of the most fun, most memorable ones.
Oh, I
too.
love Rollins. Yeah, Rollins is a personal hero of mine. I fucking just love that guy, man. Just really a true Renaissance guy. You know what I mean? Does the spoken word thing, does music, acts, writes. You know what I mean? Like really one of those guys that has his hand in a lot of different things. You know, I love when guys do that. You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that band, and then my other band is like my kind of own personal one of my faves is this band called The Accused from Washington.
Okay. Hardcore band, right?
Yeah. They're kind of a hardcore, but kind of like Year of the Dragon, like they blurred the lines between punk, hardcore, and metal. They could kind of fluctuate between all those three things. But yeah, that band is kind of one of my guilty pleasures. You should, if you haven't checked them out, it's like
I know The Accused. Yeah, I definitely know The Accused. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would almost garner to say that they are also legends in the punk hardcore world.
Yes, I mean they should be. They're one of the bands that not everybody knows, but I feel like everybody should know.
In that circle, I think everybody knows him though, for sure. You know,
for sure. Yeah.
So far, Lucifinger is out, an amazing fucking single. I think I probably asked Fly and Jay this, but just to reiterate, the New Year the Dragon album will be out early 2025.
We're looking at, I think we have a release date of March, and I might be wrong, but I think the first thing that's coming out will be an EP.
Okay.
I think we're going to do an EP first, and then an album, followed up by a second EP. That's what we're dealing with Manic Cat Records right now. So
okay.
I think that's the strategy.
Well, hey, listen, man, I know you're busy, man, and got your hand in a lot of different things too. So I really appreciate the time, man. It was really great getting a chance to chop it up with you. Stay in touch, man. I would love to do it again, man. It was a lot of fun talking to you, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, promoting Year of the Dragon. We love that. And support your show as well. I love to see what you're doing.
Thank you.
So keep up the good work, and we'll stay in touch for sure.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, us Marks got to stick together, man. That's actually my real name. So.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I mean, there's something about Marks, right? I mean, we just fucking rule. We do.
That's right. You got the K or the C?
I'm with a K.
Okay. I won't hold it against you. I got a C.
All right.
It's all good.
It's all right. Yeah. I mean, come on, man. We can live in the same world, the C's and the K's together, right? I mean,
that's right.
It's all harmony. Thanks, Mark. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Appreciate it so much, man. Thanks.
You too, man.
Yeah. Good talking to you, man.
All right.
Later, brother.
Peace. Thank you.
There he goes, folks. Mark Rey of legendary funk band Mandrill. And obviously, he is in the band with a guest I just had recently on, Fly and Jay Armont, and of course, the legendary Walt Kibbe of Fishbone. The band is Year of the Dragon. Fucking amazing band, man. Certainly hints of Fishbone, obviously, with Dirty Walt being in there, man. Heavy as fuck, man. Mark, an amazing fucking guitar player. And shout out to him teaching at the Silver Lake Conservatory of Music out there in California. The school started by the legendary Flea of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And it's great. Warms the embers of my heart to hear that Flea is down there getting involved with the kids. I figured that that's what Mark would say, man. Flea just seems like one of those kind of guys, a kid at heart and a lover of music and a fan himself, first and foremost. So that was a very heartwarming part of the interview to hear that Flea is down there and rolling around and getting involved with the students, man, and involved in something he helped create. And of course, Mark Rey, can't thank him enough, man. The guy teaches, the guy plays in the legendary funk band Mandrill, and also in the legendary band Year of the Dragon. So the man has a lot on his plate, man. So I appreciate the hell out of him taking some time to join us here on PodScum, man. Really appreciate it, man. Great dude, man. Hope you guys enjoyed that episode. Make sure, if you did enjoy it, that you're doing what you're supposed to do and you're liking, subscribing, and hitting the notification bell to stay tapped in. That's important. And if you so choose and you like the platforms, you got to do them nowadays. PodScum is on Facebook as well. Like and follow us over there to stay tapped in with whatever's going on and whatever other bullshit fucking ramblings I want to throw on there. But it's mostly PodScum related stuff, intertwined with some boxing stuff. If something is coming up in the boxing world that's exciting, I will share it, because obviously this channel also has my former boxing podcast, Off the Couch Boxing, Also check that out. As I said earlier, if you're a fan of the knuckle game, and as I said earlier, who the fuck isn't? And check your pulse if you're not. But again, thank you so much to MARC REY of MANDRILL and Year of the Dragon. Both bands you should check out if you like to get your funk on and you like to dance and you like music that starts to move you. Check out some MANDRILL. The boys have been around since the late 60s, man. One of the longest running legendary funk elements of Latin music in there as well. The amazing Wilson brothers started that band years and years and years ago. Mark has been in there, geez, we said 25 years, since 1999. So he's had a hell of a run with those guys. And of course, Year of the Dragon, man. Their single is out right now called Lucifinger. And as you heard, new music coming from them in 2025. That's exciting as fuck. They are a band that is fucking fire. So make sure to check them out as well. Hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And as I always say, when I end these things, remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.